Good morning, Downieville. Welcome to Dirt Magic, the Downieville Sessions. I'm your host, Martin Scheel. Dirt Magic, the Downieville Sessions, brings you good times from the great people of the Downieville Classic. In the days leading up to the 25th anniversary of this epic event, you will hear from some great people, including past champions, riders, volunteers, staff, guests, and locals, sharing their classic stories that all began some 28 years ago. Our guest today began his cycling career sweeping floors, taking out the trash, and learning to wrench on bikes at his local bike shop. Following an inspirational trip to a little town called Downieville, he began his journey to all mountain fame, racing in the very first Coyote Classic some 28 years ago. From there, it went downhill. Literally. To launch him multiple times to the Downieville Classic All Mountain top spot. Recruited to work for one of the coolest little global companies, he forged his skills to later become a cycling CEO. He's an all-time mountain bike shredder and one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. Please welcome Jason Moeschler. Jason, welcome to the show.
Marty, thanks for having me. I'm flattered to be invited.
Super stoked to have a former champion of the Downieville Classic on the line. And I have to ask, because I'm not sure many podcast hosts get to ask this question, but how are things up in the land of evil?
Everything is good. The bike industry is a little bit crazy, and it's been crazy since the start of the pandemic, but I think every industry's been like that. But evil's trudging right along, so we're good.
You know, I have to say that it's interesting to be able to welcome a CEO of evil to the Dirt Magic podcast, the Downieville Sessions. But of course, that's Evil Bicycles for you folks out there wondering. No relation to Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers, at least not that I know of.
No, you're correct.
So here we are, 2023. July of this year will be the 25th anniversary of the Downieville Classic, which you, of course, are intimately familiar with. Started back in 1995 as the Coyote Classic. But long before that happened, how did you even find out about Downieville, California?
Actually, I was only 15 years old, and I'd gotten hooked up with a group of local riders in Nevada City. I was born and raised in Nevada City. And my first trip up to Downieville was actually with some of my mom's coworkers from Grass Valley Group, Jeff Danes and Eric Dillon and Jeff Danes. And they took me for this epic ride in Downieville. And it just blew my mind. It was the best ride I'd ever done. And from that day forward, I was this kid that it was like anything I could do to get up to Downieville to ride, I would do. So started pretty young.
That sounds, that story seems to echo throughout many people that I've spoken to over the years and even recently, especially into these Downieville sessions for the podcast. It truly is a magical place, and it leaves a mark on people, both, physically it can for sure, but mentally, and, really produces, that urge, just a magical place that, like, I have to get back. I just have to keep going back.
You're right. And even if you're not a rider, I'll tell you, my son Jace, he's 11 years old. He's been to a lot of classics in his life, but he's never ridden there aside from riding, his Schwinn that Chris Foyt built him, around town during the event. But it's his favorite town. He only wants to go to vacation in Downieville. It's so funny.
Well, that was probably good for us because if you and the wife were right on the precipice of like, oh boy, we're so busy, we really like to go down and ride or race or just be there. It's nice to know that we've got Jace on our side, just needling you guys. Like, oh no, we got to go. Come on, mom. Come on, dad. We got to go.
It did help. It definitely helped.
So you mentioned growing up in Nevada City, and another someone that we know that goes by the moniker of Willie also grew up at that time in Nevada City, and apparently you two guys hooked up. And yeah, met each other, and obviously that turned into a much larger Downieville relationship.
It really did. And uh, Willie was known as one of the more stylish and better riders in our area, and we had some good riders in Nevada City. You know, Frank Trotter and Galen Shoemaker, and but yeah, Greg was legendary among my crew of people, and so yeah, I had the privilege to ride with him quite a few times in my younger years, and every time I rode with him, it left a similar mark as Downieville left on me, right? It's like, wow, I need to ride more like that guy. I need to have more style like that guy. And I need to be cool like that guy.
So I'm gonna take a stab at this, and I'm gonna guess maybe that you didn't have the same flowy locks of hair that Willie had back then.
I had a very traditional upbringing. Being clean cut was very important to my elders, and so no, I was clean cut.
Greg, well, long hair, yes, that's what he was, the flowing long hair. Well, that's good, though. I think it served him properly. So, he's transferred that now. And of course, folks, when we're talking about Willie, we're talking about the executive director of the Sierra Beach Trail Stewardship, the founder and creator of the Coyote Classic, Downieville Classic, Mr. Greg Williams. Just in case you didn't know that, but it'd be probably hard pressed anybody listening to this podcast to not know that. It's interesting now that now the hair on top of his head is much shorter, but the hair off his chin is much longer.
It really is something.
So Downieville Classic, again, 25th anniversary, which amazes me. Started in 1995 as the Coyote Classic. What was the first classic, if you remember? Do you know what year that you first showed up and raced the Downieville Classic?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was there in 1995, the first year, and I was a junior. That was my second year racing, and it was I recall it the first year. I recall it being a really big deal, a really big race, really well attended, and really competitive, and yeah, it was an incredible event, like the best race I'd ever been to. But I was 15, so I hadn't been to many yet. But it left a really good impression about bike racing with not only me but my family. My parents came with me, my grandparents came up, my aunt and uncles came up because my grandfather on my mom's side, he used to live in Downieville and work for the Forest Service. So my whole family was, kind of close to the area in general. I had an uncle that did a lot of logging up there. And so when they all heard, oh my gosh, there's a bike race up in Downieville. Now keep in mind, my family didn't know much about mountain biking, right? We were a very traditional family, baseball, stuff like that. But as I picked this up and then they found out there was a race in Downieville, kind of got the whole family up there. It was kind of crazy.
And it continued with that, Jason, from a race to becoming a festival, and of course, over the years and decades, adding, more things to do for family members, guests, or even just your support team. And I mean, it's a magical place by itself. And definitely you throw a mountain bike race, festival, music, river, all kinds of cool things like that. It really does become, family oriented. I'm trying to remember back when I first met you. I think it was probably around the year 2000, coming up and, I wasn't yet on the microphone. I think that year may have worked for Earthlink and sponsored the Downieville Classic because I was a field marketing manager. And why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I
Yeah.
want to sponsor one of my own favorite events for sure?
Yeah.
But I looked it up in the year 2000, and you were I think you placed sixth that year in the cross country. And with a very respectable time, nonetheless. And there were some pretty badass pro riders ahead of you, in those five there. But on the downhill side, of course, it was the beginning of Weir, and his downhill dominance. And Kenny Burt, I think, was second that year, not very far behind him,
Yeah.
as well. And that's kind of when you and I, probably first met each other, and it went from there, becoming, race festival friends, and then seeing you at other events from, you name it, Sea Otter to Interbike. But during this time, what was your job prior to, if you don't mind me asking, prior to WTB?
Yeah. So I started working at Tour of Nevada City Bike Shop when I was 14 years old, and that was the spot in Nevada City for most all cyclists. It had been around for forever.
Didn't you guys get an occasional visit from Mr. Greg LeMond?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a really well known and established shop. It was closely tied to the Nevada City Classic road race, and it was pretty famous from the early days of road racing. And then when I started working there, it was primarily a mountain bike shop. It was actually interesting to watch the shop kind of transition again between mountain bikes and road bikes. Through the Lance Armstrong era, road got really popular again. But I worked at the shop for 11 years, and it was a fantastic job where I started as a trash boy, but I kind of did a little bit of everything there, and learned how to be a mechanic. Don Dragasette, Frank Trotter, Galen Shoemaker, they were endlessly patient with me, teaching me how to do stuff, and really just taught me everything about bikes. It was incredible.
You mentioned starting out as the trash boy, and it's amazing how some pro riders and those that just become icons of the industry and make it their career, and their life, start. And it almost always seems like the local bike shop is that launching platform for so many, and inclusive of our very own Mr. Henry O'Donnell, junior national champion. He's our trail boss, currently for our pro trail crew at the Stewardship. But he started off at Ube Expeditions in Downieville swatting flies. So that was his first job for money.
Exactly.
So when did you get recruited by the great Gary Gleason?
Let's see. That would have been the first attempt, because Gary offered me a job, and I had to turn it down because I had a brief period in between the bike shop and working at WTB where I went into construction because when I found out how much more money I could make than working at the bike shop, I'm like, okay, I should do this. This is a good financial move. And so I did construction for 3 years. I believe Gary first offered me the job of Western Regional Technical Manager, territory west of the Mississippi, in 2005 or 2006. And then, I think it was 2005. And then in 2007, same thing. I think it was in Downieville. He offered me the job again, if I recall. And by that time, I'd done construction for 3 years, and I was like, I think I'd kind of like to be back in the bike industry. And the job sounded ultra cool. And then WTB, they'd been one of my sponsors, either directly or through a team that I was riding for since 2000. 1998. So I'd been with them for forever.
Wow. So pre-2000. Wow. Yeah, that's impressive. Well, I tell you what, when WTB decides to get behind somebody or an organization, boy, they stick with it. Speaking from
the truth.
experience myself.
Well, and they're not this big giant corporation, right? They're a bunch of regular people that are ultra passionate about riding. And when you have a relationship with them, it's not a relationship with a big old huge business. It's a relationship with the people that work there. And so it means something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go through a couple of dates here. So 2001, you were third in the cross country. That year, Henry O'Donnell beat Mark Weir on the downhill. And I'm sure you, as everybody else, remembers what a big deal that was.
Oh man, we all remember that. I still hear about it.
Isn't that the year the skin suits too? The full body skin suit.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh boy, maybe I could have fit in one of those back then. Right now, it'd be a Chris Farley joke. Let me tell you. 2002. That may have been. Correct me if I'm. Was that the first time that you won the cross country in 2002? If you remember.
I believe so. Yeah. I was riding for Giant Bikes at the time, and yeah, my former coworker Frank Trotter he worked with me at Tour Nevada City. He was a pro team mechanic for Giant, so I actually had the privilege of having him be my team mechanic, which was awesome. But yeah, that was my first big success at Downieville, was that win. But at that point, I wasn't racing the downhill race. I was only racing the cross country race. I was a little bit intimidated of the downhill.
Well, that downhill was definitely intimidating. It's probably one of the most fun rides I've ever had in my entire life. But yeah, racing it would be a much different entity than enjoying it. Well, it's interesting that train whistle went off in the background there when you had, started getting into the dates around 2005 about Gary finally being successful with recruiting you to WTB. But in 2005, something else happened. And that train whistle had perfect timing, because that was the first year that we created the all mountain category. And mainly this is because the downhill got so popular that we just could not put enough people into the downhill. So we needed to find a way to kind of make it a little more engaging and interesting. And we created the combination where you had to ride the cross country and the downhill, combined point system, but you had to do it on the exact same bike. And you chose to ride it that year, undaunted by the downhill. What made you decide to finally drop the hammer and just combine it all together and let's do this?
Well, part of it was I had more experience under my belt. And a lot of that experience was actually racing against Weir in a multitude of other races, and kind of realizing, I can kind of hang with this guy on the downhill. And my cross country racing experience really showed me that I was a little bit better on the downhill than I was on the climbs. And so, yeah, I said, why not? Let's try this out. This could be really cool. And what I really liked about it, though, was the fact that you had to use the same bike. And that the start of the All Mountain Championship, that was, to me, this huge turning point in the entire bike industry, because that was the point where you had to have a bike that could race cross country, go up one of the hardest climbs you could really do in a cross country race, and hold up on what I think is arguably the hardest downhill that you can throw at your equipment. So
it's definitely got to be in that category.
Yeah, it's a Downieville absolute bike breaker. As the classic has shown, I mean, every year the number of broken bikes, broken wheels, flat tires, just broken everything. It's just a trail of tears for some people.
That's for sure. And yeah, broken bike, broken body. It can go both ways, totally. Especially that water crossing with all the rock, the waterfall there. Boy, that's a fun one.
Yeah. That's I have nightmares about that one still to this day.
Oh,
It would make me nervous.
I think everybody does. That's the commitment on that one. It's either ride it or jump it. And boy, either way, once you make a decision, you got to go with it because there is no in between.
For sure. For
So,
sure.
well, it's, I would say that you chose wisely, Jason, because in 2005, we crowned the first ever all mountain world champion. And of course, that was you, buddy.
Yeah, I can't believe it to this day. I can't believe that, it was an honor to be the first one. And then the only thing that mattered moving forward was winning it again. It was for me, it was my racing career, this race, my whole season, all of my sponsors, everything hinged on winning all mountain world championships.
Well, I tell you what, your sponsors had to be pretty darn happy because you repeated in 2006 and you hit the trifecta in 2007, 3 years in a row. And that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say besides I can't believe I did that. I just can't believe it. And but then following that 3 years, I had a pretty long dry spell, and those were some of the most painful years of my life trying to regain that win. It was I can't even put into words how much work for how many years went into winning this race again. You wouldn't believe it if I told you.
I think the popularity it exploded, and it drew. We already had stellar, world class athletes. You mentioned Mark Weir, mentioned Kenny Burt. There were just, Snell. There were so many just awesome cross countryers that could also do downhill, or awesome downhillers, that could get on more of a hybrid cross country bike and still just kick ass on the trail. And, I definitely think in 2008 and 9, we saw a lot more influx of those type of riders. And in 2010, one particular rider riding for a company that you had already done so. Maybe you sparked this one. I'm not going to blame it on you, Jason, but maybe you sparked it because 2010, 11, 12, 13, and 14, a 5-year run, the All Mountain champion riding for Giant was Mr. Carl Decker.
Yeah, Carl really left a mark. And yeah, it was racing against that guy. It's honestly, when Adam Craig came and started racing, I was like, okay, this is going to be hard to handle Adam. But then Carl, I think he kind of surprised us all because we all knew he was an incredible cross country racer and more fit than all of us usually. But he handled the descending like none of us really thought he could do, and it was a surprise. And then when he kept beating us, it was like, man, we've really got to step it up everywhere. And so yeah, good on him. And the number of photos I have where I am locked wheel with that guy, either up the climb or on Sunrise Trail, right? It's not like it wasn't a competition. In 2014, I had the fastest time. I was 11 seconds faster than Carl, but there was the change in the way that the race win worked. So it was points based instead of time based.
Yep.
So, man, Marty, you wouldn't have believed it. At this point in my life, I had a deal with my wife that I will quit racing. I promise I will quit racing. I just need to win the All Mountain one more time. And so 2014 was like a painful year for my family because she was like, we got to go again. Like, I can't believe this. We got to do this again. And I can't state enough, like, the sacrifices that I had to make personally and with my family to have the fitness, to have the health, to maintain the strength to compete in this race. It was, and I didn't have the luxury. I never was a full-time pro racer. I always worked too. And so that always made it a little bit harder kind of being, a working class racer. But it's not impossible. It's not it's definitely not impossible to do. And I in a lot of ways, I don't recommend being a full-time racer because you need to you need to have something after racing. But man, it was hard. It was a hard run.
Well, you brought some redemption back, and you did it in a spectacular year and in a spectacular way, because in 2015 we celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Downieville Classic. And in 2015, Mr. Carl Decker, going for his sixth in a row all mountain championship, all mountain world championship, had to beat Mr. Jason Moeschler, and he couldn't do it. And we crowned you champion once again. And Jason, to have that happen on the 20th anniversary of an event that you've been at for so long, I mean, that was pretty sweet in my book. I'm sure nowhere near the level of sweetness and for you and your family, but boy, that was just a spectacular race, spectacular win, and yeah, good times.
Yeah, those memories, they go through my mind on a daily basis. The anxiety, the pressure, but also the success and the feeling of just I did it. I can't believe I did it because I really, Marty, I got to be honest. I thought I probably wasn't going to be able to do it. I mean, I knew I was fit. I knew the downhill, but the competition was always stiff, and there was I didn't have a perfect cross country race, and that was a little bit disappointing because I was fit enough to have a good cross country race, and I what really happened was I put myself in a situation with that bad cross country race where I had no choice basically but to win the downhill, and I never won the downhill. I'd been second way too many times, third a time or two, and so it was basically put up, win this thing. And so yeah, 2015 was the only year I ever won the downhill, and that secured the all mountain win. So it was super crazy.
Was
super
that the
cool.
last year that you raced the Downieville Classic?
That was the last year I raced. Yeah, I held my promise to my wife, and I had to finish out that year. I was riding for Cannondale at the time, and I had obligations that I had to finish up, but it set me up for a fantastic rest of the year. Like a couple weeks after Downieville, I went over to the UK and raced a stage race and won that, and I just had all the confidence in the world. But yeah, when the year was up, I stuck to my guns, and I hung up the number plates.
Back to your day job, which ultimately led to you working for a new bike company, Evil Bikes, and now you're the CEO. I mean, at some point, you look back, when you were a younger man and looked in the mirror, and did it ever click? Did you ever see Jason Moeschler, CEO of a bike company?
No. A lot of people, I think, have goals to become an executive at a company. That was never one of my goals. I just love bikes. I love riding. I love product development. Uh, I only went through 2 years of junior college. I dropped out of when I applied for Chico and got in, and so I was going to finish off school in Chico, and I actually decided not to do it because I was having relatively good success with racing. I was junior national champion in '97, and I was competing in cross country world championships. I got to go 3 years in a row, and my sponsorship was pretty good. Things were getting paid for. So, despite maybe my parents and my grandparents' best wishes, I decided not to continue on with college. And between the bike shop and then working at WTB, that was like the best bike industry university anyone could ever get. And especially WTB, where I just got so much exposure to so many different levels of the bike business. And So that job prepared me for where I'm at Evil now. It was
Oh, I
business class education.
I think your whole career from 14-year-old trash boy at your local bike shop to the CEO of Evo Bikes and in between from racing, you went to the school of hard knocks, breaks, bruises, wins, losses, the whole finance side of just trying to survive in the bike industry, plus survive being a professional racer, sponsorship dollars, marketing, because you were a marketable product. You had to be. And, and from that, product development, obviously, no better person than to develop a product than the person that's riding the product and racing and winning and losing. So you've got a PhD in my book, buddy.
Well,
Hands
thank
down.
you. Yeah.
Hands down. Let's do some Downieville specific questions, kind of more. A version of these is going to be asked to everybody depending on whether they're a rider, volunteer, staff. But so between the downhill and the cross country, which course do you like best?
I like the cross country. I had a sweet spot for baby heads up at the top of Polly Creek, and I don't know why, Marty, but when I would get on that section of Jeep Road, man, I could make up so much time on my competition, and I don't know why I was good at riding it, but gosh dang, I was good at riding it, and I was so fortunate. And so that was always one of my favorite sections of the track.
There are definitely some riders that I've spoken to, even in years past, on those moments, where you're up on the podium and just doing a little quick interview, after they come across the finish line, and so hey, what happened out there? How was the ride? And oh, it was good until Moeschler went by me like I was stopped at baby heads, and I've heard that comment before. So whatever that section was, it was in your DNA, or vice versa. So.
It was.
So when you first started the All Mountain in those years, how did you determine what bike you were going to ride and what tires you're going to run, knowing that they had to be the same for the XC and then the 17-mile infamous downhill?
Oh my gosh. Well, so in 2005, that's when I had joined Mark Weir's team, the WTB racing team, and it was sponsored by Santa Cruz. So that was my first year riding a Santa Cruz. I was on a Blur, and the figuring out how to build this bike to win the overall was crazy. And I remember I learned from Mark that what we would do, we would order a case of tires. We'd order 10 tires at a time, and most people typically go for lighter weight tires. They want them to be light. Well, we would go for the heaviest ones. We wanted like the most protection, and we weren't riding downhill tires. At least I wasn't, but I was riding kind of medium weight tires. But I'd always try to get the heaviest ones, and so every other part on the bike was nitpicked. We put titanium bolts wherever they could go. We were using ceramic bearings before they were really a thing, I think, and just any place we could trim weight, but not trim durability. And the thinking into the bike build, it would last leading up to the race. I mean, it would be from like when the race was done to, the next year, like, okay, what am I going to build? What's this bike going to be like? And it changed, I mean, a Blur won it the first year, a Nomad won it the second year. And then the third year it went back to a Blur, for me. And was always trying to figure out, okay, which is the best bike, right?
Well, I definitely think you were onto something with the tires, and any way that you can shave weight, especially to help you on that cross country course, but then beef up those tires so they make it through the downhill course. I mean, there has been a many of rider I've seen it come across that finish line in the all mountain category on Sunday, riding a rear flat or carrying their bike or being brought back on a moto.
So. For sure. And so much of our product development at WTB was, I mean, Mark Weir was such a gnarly rider all on his own. He was always bigger and heavier than me and more tough on equipment. So making tires that could hold up for him at Downieville was priority number one, right? Because it's like, okay, we've got the guy that's winning the downhill race. We need to make something that can hold up for him. And so through all of the testing, there's plenty of failures, and Mark doesn't like failures, and he puts a lot of pressure on you to make things right in time. So I was just sort of a beneficiary of that technology, right? It wasn't being developed for me, but it was important to me. And I didn't necessarily think I was going to be the one winning on it, though, right? It was my job to get it done, get it made. So
sometimes things work out for the best. All right. So what would be either your craziest or most memorable moment, the Downieville Classic?
I've got a couple zingers. Maybe I'll give you. I'm going to request that I give you two.
All right, bring it. Let's talk dirt.
One year, Ariel Lindsley and Mike West came to the race, and Weir was freaking out. He's like, "Oh my gosh, these guys are so fit, and they're good downhill riders. I don't know how we're going to beat them." And he was right. Ariel and Mike, they waxed us on the climb. And typically, if I get waxed on the climb, it's like, okay, I'm going to be able to catch up. I'm going to be able to put wood in these guys on the downhill. Well, I did catch up with them, and I caught them at the Third Divide Bridge. And so we start the Third Divide climb, and both of them, almost like they're, on cue, they both cramp. And I'm not talking like a little cramp. I'm talking there is screaming and agony and pain. And so I didn't have to race them. I simply pedaled by them and kept my strong pace. And I don't think that the screaming stopped by the time I got to the top of the climb. It was the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, two grown men screaming in agony.
Well, they knew crazy. Too. They knew if they got off the bike, they were done, because they'd never be able to get their leg to uncramp at that point to get back
totally.
on the bicycle.
Totally. So. Yeah. Oh. And then another one that was, it was kind of gnarly. I honestly can't remember what year it was. It was one of the years I didn't win or got second or something, but it was probably during Carl's reign. But I had a huge crash, and just crash of epic proportions, and I still finished. I still finished strong, but I really hamburger meated my knee. It was a really scary injury, and this was on day one. And so, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, Lisa, was super concerned, and I'm in the Riverside Inn shower, in the hotel room, trying to get it cleaned up, and it's just. I'm like, oh man, one, I don't know how I'm going to race tomorrow. But two, what am I going to do about this injury? And so funny though, my doctor growing up, Dr. Kellerman, he heard through the grapevine that I got really hurt, and he came and he found me. And so he walks up to the hotel room, and he's like, "Hey, is Jason around?" And Lisa at the time, she's like, "He's a little busy." And he's like, "I'm his doctor." And she's like, "Oh, go right in." So Dr. Kellerman shows up in the bathroom. I'm in the shower, and he's like, "Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's get you fixed up so we can get you out there tomorrow." And yeah, I did race. It hurt a lot, but it made it happen.
Hey, you've hit the big time when your doctor is on call, even in Downieville.
I felt really special. That was so cool of that guy to be plugged in and tuned in, and to track me down like that. It was really something else.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, hey, let's. I know we're pushing time here, so let's since we're talking about some zingers. This one's not really much of a zinger, but apparently there was something going on between you and Mr. Ron Williams, which is, of course, Greg's dad, and spin class.
Yeah. yeah, when I worked at the bike shop, it's bike shop didn't pay a lot, and so I would supplement my income by teaching spin classes from 5 in the morning to 7 in the morning, and it's good because I'd get my exercise in the morning, and they paid pretty good, and yeah, Ron Williams started showing up to my spin class, and that poor guy, I feel so bad for him because I was just ruthless on anyone that came to my spin class, right? And but he was tough as nails, and he and I didn't know each other very well before then, but then we became great friends because of course, he was super involved with the classic, and he knew how important it was to me, and I think he could see every, 3 days a week, he could watch me training for the race. Like in front of him, he'd be watching me just destroy myself and destroy the rest of the class, as I'm like trying to get ready for this thing. And so it was super cool to get so close with him. And yeah, I feel really lucky that I got to build such a good relationship with that guy.
Yeah, it was obvious that you two became great friends because there were many times that he would be standing right next to me at the finish line as I'm on the microphone there, and folks are coming across either cross country or downhill. And Ron, his how's he looking? Well, I mean, at this point in time, obviously, either only one or two have come across the finish line, or if it was a downhill, depending on where you were. But there's Ron Williams always asking, Jason come across yet? Nope, not yet. He's on course. He's on course. He's doing good. I heard which he just passed Blue Point, or he just passed Polly Creek. He's moving. He's looking good. But Ron was always there for you at the finish line, which is that's great though.
Man.
And there again, Downieville. I mean, obviously growing up in Nevada City too, small communities, but Downieville again, reaching out and creating family amongst people that have no blood relation whatsoever, but become probably some even stronger than blood family.
Absolutely. I know it really was. It was a good, strong relationship for sure. Yeah, I miss that guy.
Well, but before we say goodbye, I know, you guys, especially for WTB, you guys travel a lot, you and Gary. I know you guys spend a lot of time in Asia, Taiwan, especially. And apparently there was, and I think you may have actually mentioned this to me when I was trying to look for some zingers for Gary, but somebody leaving a computer on a bus. And and I can only imagine in this day and age what that would be like, even with all the protections that our laptops have. But boy, back then, yeah, how did that go?
Oh my gosh. I'll never forgive myself for this, Marty. Yeah, we'd taken a city bus from a train, because everything in Europe is very public transportation oriented. And it was actually really fun to use their public transit. But yeah, so we arrive in Zurich and get on a train, and then get on a ferry, and then get on another train, and then we get on a bus, and we're on the last leg, right? And the bus is dropping us off right near our hotel. And the only thing I got to do is make sure that all the bags are off the bus, right? And there was a group of us, and man, I left Gary's backpack on the bus. I just didn't see it, right? I was trying to rush, and then Gary's like, "Where's my backpack?" And we're looking, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And I was the last guy off, right? So, but to give Gary credit, man, he whipped up a plan, and he like tracked that bus down, and it was an impressive set of logistics to get his bag back. It's to where we should have been sitting at a nice German restaurant, enjoying a beer or something and relaxing from the long trip. Poor guy has to go track down his computer because I don't think I could have done it. I didn't know where to start, but man, he manhandled that situation.
That's at least that one turned out okay.
It did.
Well, it looks like we're out of time. Jason, a huge thanks, for joining me today. I can only imagine, just with our own executive director and the demands on his time and all of our time, especially post pandemic, the crazy world of cycling, being a CEO. But your legacy with the Downieville Classic is set in gold, and all of your support over the years, no matter what team you were riding for, company you worked for, you've always been a supporter of the Classic, supporter of Downieville, supporter of the stewardship. And we really appreciate that. And thank you to all of your sacrifices too. And thanks to Lisa and Jace. I mean, it's the world of travel, just the industry alone minus, the racing. And so thank you to them too, because we know that without them, you wouldn't be able to accomplish what you did. And, so thank you. And, it'd be great to see you back if you guys can get down for the 25th anniversary at some level, either as Evil or even just to come by and say hi. I know that's a haul from coming up north there in Oregon, but it'd be great to have you. But with that, I'm going to give you just final thoughts on the return after the pandemic of the 25th anniversary Downieville Classic Mountain Bike Festival and All Mountain World Championships from a multiple time champion.
Well, I'll tell you what, thank you for addressing, my family's support and everything. Cause it really has been. Without them, none of this would have been possible. And I'd be nothing without them. It's amazing how much support I've gotten from them. And you've probably heard this from Jake Helm. It's like, even though I committed to not racing after 2015, it's in my DNA to keep fitness. And, part of that reason is this remote thought in my head that maybe I should go back. Maybe I should go back and race it. That's not to say I'm going to come back and race this year, but I'm not going to lie, the thoughts going through my head. But you will not see me show up to the start line unless there's a really good chance that I could win. So I'm going to leave you with that. It's there's nothing more that I want than to tie up the leaderboard, because Carl's got me by one. And I'll tell you what, man, I think about it too often. And no matter what, I'm going to be there. If I'm at the start line, that's a big question still. I'm not positive.
Well, if not, and you're in that expo area with me on the microphone all day, we'll have to have some great conversations and tell some good stories throughout the event, because they are great stories. And we will look forward to that happening one way or the other, either this year or an upcoming year with everything we do. Jason, Huge thanks, man. Thanks so much for being on the show today, for everything you've done for us. And I look forward to having that adult beverage with you the next time I see you. And hopefully the family can come too. We've kind of watched the boy grow up since birth, in the industry, and seeing him at Sea Otter and other events. And it's great to see that. It makes me feel old. As I'm sure you can appreciate. I told Gary Gleason he started out at the Downieville Classic as a long hair, and now he's a gray hair. And of course, I fit in that category too, minus the long hair. But hey, thanks so much for being on the show, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Marty.
All right, buddy. Take it easy. You've been listening to Dirt Magic, the Downieville Sessions. I'm your host, Martin Scheel. Dirt Magic is produced by the Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship. Music selection courtesy of the Saddle Tramps. Stay tuned for our next Downieville Sessions, and thanks again for listening.